Hello again, my name is Nine, and today is episode 2 of Superflat Survival on Gregtech New Horizons, one of the most complicated Minecraft mod packs of all time. If you're somehow getting this video recommended to you and you haven't seen my first video, I'm not quite sure why, but good luck! On the last episode of Gregtech New Horizons but Superflat, we conquered the Stone Age, carving out a home and painstakingly getting our first steam boiler. The overarching goal of today's episode is to complete the entirety of Gregtech New Horizons' Steam Age using the extremely well-made questbook. Achieving this goal should land us in the first era of electricity, otherwise known as low voltage. Along the way, we will explore the brand new CropsNH mod and see just how powerful and fun crops can be. But before we dive into the Steam Age, I want to get a little meta and explain the requirements for smooth progression. For any GTNH playthrough, the main material used in bulk in the Steam Age is bronze, which is an alloy of 3 parts copper to 1 part tin. Additionally, we will need a supply of iron and to figure out how to make steel, which is used frequently in low voltage machines and tools. In a normal GTNH world, you would gather these 4 resources by exploring your world, prospecting for chalcopyrite, malachite, and other tin, iron, and copper veins that spawn randomly in ore chunks. On Superflat, this poses a small issue, which is that there are no ore chunks and we don't even have stone. So before we can even touch the Steam Age, my goal for the first couple of streams was to find the best renewable source for those 4 materials: copper, tin, iron, and steel. Today is another day of Superflat survival, and my goal today is I finally want to try out the new Green Revolution part of the quest book, which is the CropsNH mod, or Crops New Horizons, by Cobra 5, and I have been waiting for this for so long. It is a redoing of the IC2 Crops mod that has been with GTNH since like the beginning of time itself. The basic idea of it is to remove some of the uncontrollable RNG. So now instead of 2 base plants breeding together to create a whole slew of plants at a like 1% chance, 2 plants create 1 specific plant, or maybe like 1 or 2. So you can see that there's growth, gain, and resistance. I hear that getting max stats for your crops is a lot easier than it was before. So those are the 2 things I'm excited for, and I actually have never done crops at all, so this will be a new experience for me. The first step will be obtaining a stock of basic crops which you can breed from. If you don't already have them, go steal them from villagers or that witch down the hill. Alright, that sounds good to me. Well, there's carrots, that's easy. And seeds or wheat. Do I need to turn these into seeds somehow by like crafting them? Is that the deal? Oh yeah, that's really easy. Any random potatoes around? There we go. I just needed to summon him. So I am going to hop off Mr. Donkey, craft a couple of these into wheat seeds, and that should be a green revolution. The next thing we need is crop sticks, which is wood and file and saw. Understood. And there we go. There's our crop sticks from CropsNH. When you place crop sticks down and they're empty, there's a chance that weeds will spawn and take over your crops. So don't do that. Don't leave them. Let's start making some crop area over here. Editor 9 here. Day 7 involved a lot of experimentation and failure, which is all part of the process. But it's hard to make a good video out of that, and I am really lazy. So here's what I learned. There are 3 main important tools: the spade, which we use to harvest seeds and till land, the plant lens, which we use to identify crops, and the crop stick. Crop sticks are pretty simple. A single crop stick can be used to grow a plant normally, and when breeding plants, another crop stick can be placed on top to create a double crop stick. This second stick is consumed when a new plant gets bred. Open crop sticks can get weeds, which can spread to nearby plants and make them sick, so keep an eye out when you have empty crop sticks. We also learned about stats: growth, gain, and resistance. Growth affects the speed at which a plant grows, gain affects the amount of drops, and resistance allows a plant to resist the effects of weeds and sickness, as well as increasing the drop rates of seeds. A max statted plant is 31 growth, 31 gain, and 31 resistance. After doing some more research and asking around in the Discord, I came to the conclusion that getting a max stat plant was the fastest way forward through progression, and if you're following along, I highly suggest that you try this following method. Step 1. On a large field, plant a potato or any fast-growing crop on a crop stick. Wait until it reaches 80 growth or higher, then place 4 double crop sticks around it. The parent potato, which is probably 111, will attempt to spread to nearby crop sticks, modifying each stat by anything from -2 to +4. If you have extra bone meal or fertilizer, you can use it on the parent crop, which changes the spread stats to 0 to +4, speeding up the process. Use a plant lens on each spread crop and isolate the crop with the highest stats, repeating the process until you get a stock of 31, 31, 31 potatoes. When statted crops are bred into new crops, they inherit the stats of their parents. To put it another way, 2 max stat plants that have been fertilized will always breed into another max stat plant. This initial statting will speed up your crop progression by a huge amount, and if you play your cards right, you basically never have to do it again. This will especially come in handy when we learn about the second type of crop breeding on day 8. So today is day 2 of trying Crops New Horizons. What we're going to do is work with something called mutation pools. Pools represent groups of species which share a genetic background and can therefore randomly mutate into each other when breeding on crop sticks. For you, this will be a key concept to take advantage of when attempting to breed many of the different species of liliums found in CropsNH. So I'm going to set up like a huge lattice here. I think that seems to be like the meta way to do this. What we need to keep an eye out for is weeds. So chat, if you see any weeds that are growing down here, please let me know, and we need to get rid of those immediately. So this is our first unknown seed here. Oh my gosh, look, we also got a cool unknown seed. This is the power of the crop mutation pool. So let's use our plant lens to figure out what this is. This is a salty root with 31, 31, 31. And damn, that looks good. And double crop stick that back up. This also looks new. Blueberry. Blueberry these nuts. Thank you, Voidbound. Very cool. This is actually a lot going on here. This is a very active process, which I really appreciate. The one thing about this, the inner and outer crop sticks are just spreading potato. So you need to breed 2 of the crop onto a double crop stick to get into those pools. Oh, I see. So these ones will always be potato. I need to like pare this down anyway, so that way I can like focus. So to recap, this is the ideal setup for breeding new crops from gene mutation pools, in my opinion. Cobra has struck gold here because this is gambling, and all Gregtech New Horizons players love gambling. So, oh my god, hold up. Someone cooked with this texture. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let's put our double crop sticks in between so that way they can spread. And I see a weed off the rip. Kill that guy. Ooh, what is this? Fertilia! We got it, chat. Fertilia is what we're looking for, although that is 30, 31, 30. So we might need to stat this one up a little bit. We're gonna hoe this. And then from here, we want subsoil to be cobblestone and the soil to be cobble as well. So what we'll do here is plant our salty root seeds adjacent and then a double crop stick on cobblestone. And that looks really weird, I'm not gonna lie. It's just gonna take a while, but the only thing we're gonna get is stone lily out of this. So if you're following along with your CropsNH progression, we went from potato to salty root, and now we're going from salty root to stone lily entirely through these gene mutation pools. Oh, I think we got it, chat. Our first 31, 31, 31 stone lily. Let's go. I think I just right-click this, and then I'll left-click it to pick up the second seed. And that should be stone from the soil. I do have a loot bag here that we can gamble. Okay, that seems pretty good. We got a crop manager. We literally can't make that for like a whole 1.5 tiers. What was the percentage chance on that? 0.69. Oh my god, please play RuneScape. Dude, we need to do a RuneScape video together. I have really good luck in games that I don't play often. The rest of day 8 was dedicated to using our pool breeding knowledge to amass as many of the starter seeds as I could get my hands on. Doing pool breeding at the beginning to get a wide variety of max stat plants is incredibly helpful, and I would recommend that you all give it a try, as it gives you most of the crops that you will need later for deterministic breeding. All of this would help us open up the crops quest book and get more loot bags, which we could gamble on day 9.
Here comes the money. Here we go.
Okay, before we go anywhere, a quick PSA to other content creators. Mic angle really matters. Most mics are top address, meaning that they capture noise from the top and reject it from the sides and bottom. My mic, as I have just found out after day 9, is side address, meaning that it rejects audio from the top and accepts audio from the sides. Throughout all of day 9, I had my mic pointing directly up at my face, and it mostly picked up the reverberation off my ceiling and walls from the sides, sounding terrible. Hello VOD. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another day of Superflat survival. Therefore, I will be voicing over most, if not all, of day 9 and reminding you to try your mic out at different angles. Because we did so much pool breeding on day 8, we now have access to the Oreberry part of the quest book, which I immediately get to work on. Oreberries damage you when you walk over them, so they exist in the danger mutation pool along with cacti. I set up a square plot for various mutations with 8 cacti plants. Essence Oreberries require cobblestone as soil and mob heads underneath, and the various other Oreberries need cobblestone and blocks of their respective metal underneath. So first we visit some nearby villages to get tin and copper, and then make a steam compressor to compress those ingots into blocks. I also realized that in order for the metal Oreberries to grow, we need darkness, so I build a bowl over the setup to block out sunlight and get to waiting. How did it... Chat, rip donkey! Oh no! He died on my essence berries. Guys, I need you guys to pour one out for Donkey. Oh my god, I actually feel really sad now. That was my pal! And after a lot of waiting, and another very lucky crop manager pull from loot bags, we find all of the Oreberries we're looking for. Tin, copper, iron, and essence, ending day 9's stream. This is day 10 of Superflat survival. We are back. I have expanded the farms a little bit. These are all of my essence Oreberries, which gives me XP and all this other stuff. I've kind of been distilling the best ways to get our 4 most important resources. And you know, in Steam Age, those resources are tin, copper, iron, and steel, which we have, but I'll tell you about that in a bit. I have decided that I don't like copper and iron Oreberries, and the reason why is that they are tier 5 crops. When a crop is tier 5, it needs sky access in order to be able to grow with 0 intervention. The difference between that and the tin Oreberry is that the tin Oreberry is tier 4, which means because it needs to be light level 10 or lower, it doesn't need sky access to grow without intervention at all. So this means that I don't need to water it twice in order for it to get to its full growth stage. I can just let it go and it'll eventually give me tin. You can see that that's 0.23% grown. It's very slow. The same thing with essence Oreberries, which are the XP Oreberries. The essence Oreberry is a tier 5 plant, but if you'll remember, we don't need a light level restriction for this, which means that it has access to the open sky and therefore can grow on its own without intervention. I have been doing that, and then I've been buying chain and iron armor from villagers, blacksmith villagers, and grinding that up into dust, which has been very helpful. We have a ton of iron and steel, so I've just been like compiling resources because today we're gonna hop into the Steam Age quest book and bang out as much as we can. There's an order of operations for today though. First, I want to gamble You wanted netherrack, right? Yeah, so let's take a look at this loot bags. There's a couple things that I want. The thing that I want the most actually now, this isn't just a sodium battery. This is actually a battery, a solar panel, and a battery buffer in one thing. And that would allow us to do fully passive Steam Age crop managing, because we have gambled 2 basic crop managers. Let's get gambling, shall we? Another crop manager and nickel ore. That's good. That's good. That's crazy. We have 3 crop managers now. It would be really funny if we got like another crop manager and 0 solar panels, because then I just couldn't do anything with it until like LVH, which would admittedly be really fucking funny. And there's also more quests that I can do later. Another crop manager. That's ridiculous. The fundamentals of Steam is that you need a good water source, first of all. This current water tank that we have only makes 10 liters per second. Steam is converted at a 1:160 ratio of water to steam, so every 10 liters of water turns into 1,600 liters of steam. I want more than that, and I have done the math, or at least I went to the wiki, and I made a plan to get a solid fueled boiler firebox. We're gonna go for tier 2 with the high pressure steam tanks. We have access to diamond dust because I have been macerating a bunch of diamond armor as well. And this diamond has a burn time of, I think it's like many hours. But we're gonna use this insanely high burn time in this solid fueled boiler firebox in order to get most of our steam this playthrough. First thing I want to do though is get 3 more of these water tanks. Auto crafting, chat. Do I need to say anything more? Alright, there's 1 water tank. Alright, there we go. There's enough water. The next part we need to do is hook this water up to our steam setup, which means I need to actually craft out the steam setup. So let's see if we can actually do that. Before we continue, I want to quickly talk about Gregtech steam machines, how they work, and why I want to get them. In Gregtech, single block machines are blocks that use some source of power to refine items in different ways. Take for example the steam alloy smelter. This machine can convert metal ingots and dusts into alloys like bronze, red alloy, and brass. It can even do stuff like vulcanizing rubber. Generally, steam machines are more advantageous to use over crafting table recipes as they have small buffs to their output, with a caveat that recipes take time to process, using steam or electricity during the craft. Let's take a look at the recipe for bronze. In the crafting table, you need 3 copper dust and 1 tin dust to make only 3 bronze dust. In the alloy smelter, 3 copper dust and 1 tin dust gives you 4 fully smelted bronze ingots, making the alloy smelter much more efficient on materials. Every steam machine has its own use case and recipe map. For example, the forge hammer is mostly used to turn ingots into plates. The macerator is used to break down items and return dusts, and the extractor is used to squeeze products like raw rubber dust from rubber trees and slime. All of these machines will need to be made in order to progress to the low voltage era. Got bricks in there, so there's our bricked bronze hull, which should be the first part of this quest, and then the crafting task next is our steam alloy smelter, which is our first steam age quest, or I guess our second steam age quest, which we are going to use very quickly to get some red alloy ingots and just keep cruising through the quest book. One more red alloy ingot! There's our last red alloy ingot for the quest, ideally. Let us grab the wire cutter quest real quick. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then 1 bolt, 1 screw, 1 wire cutter. We have the compressor already. We also have the macerator already, so we'll grab that. And now let's get our forge hammer, because this is the important part. 1, 2, 3. I think we need 6 plus the hull, which is 7. Don't say anything, chat. Don't say anything. And that should be a forge hammer. So the forge hammer is probably one of your biggest first investments that you'll want to look into. So currently, our plate recipe is 2 ingots with a hammer into 1 steel plate. The forge hammer gives us a 3-to-2 recipe, which is 1.5 times as efficient on materials or something. Alrighty, what to do next? I think let's get that boiler out of the way. It should be pretty chill. There we go. Perfect. That's all we need. Let's get some water in this thing. We've got our wrench here. So when doing pipes, you need a wrench. A wrench allows you to change the inputs and outputs of Gregtech pipes. So right here, I'm gonna click on the top right there, and that should connect it to that water tank. But yeah, we'll do that, and that's all connecting. And then if you crouch and right click, it sets like a one-way direction for a pipe to go. So I only want water going to the left here. I never want it sloshing backwards into these tanks or into the pipes that are holding them either. So I am just gonna do that, and it's gonna make my life a little bit easier. And we can also do that here at this junction. So water should now be funneling into our steam boiler, which means I can just chuck diamond dust into it, I think. So right now in the Steam quest book, as we're rocking through it incredibly quickly, I might say, we're allowed to get the high pressure steel forge hammer, which is actually like really easy to make. All we need is some wrought iron and 1 steel plate. What this does is it just works twice as fast and uses twice as much steam, which is, you know, a good trade-off. The way we make wrought iron in this game is really fucking annoying, actually. We need to make wrought iron nuggets by smelting down iron nuggets into wrought iron nuggets. All right, we got to go through a whole process here. We got to make a blank cast first of all, and that blank cast is going to turn into a nugget mold cast, and then we need to pour steel over it to make a nugget mold, which we're then going to put in our alloy smelter to turn iron into nuggets. Very long, convoluted process. Let's just get it done. All right, there we go. There is our nugget cast. This will help us a little bit. And that's only taking 40 liters per second, so that's at least a godsend there. We do need to vent the steam. I think that's what that sound was. There we go. Make sure that there's a face open that steam can get out of. We're getting our first wrought iron nuggets coming through. We're slowly going to compress those back into ingots. I think actually the alloy smelter with a mold might be the play here, but I'm not sure. Let me check that. 20 seconds versus 30 seconds. Wow. Do we have access to the upgraded forge hammer? Time to get some steel quest? Dog, what do you mean? I have steel. I spent the rest of day 10 by using our painstakingly crafted wrought iron to upgrade the forge hammer to the high pressure version. I also used the smeltery to convert more steel dust into steel ingots for day 11. Alright chat, we've got a big day ahead of us, so let me explain right off the rip. Last time that we streamed, we made our way through most of the Steam Age, like actually a huge amount of the Steam Age. And basically, where we're stuck now is that we need to get flint and steel and go to the nether. Now I told you guys something very important at the start of this run, which is we're gonna limit the dimensions that we go to. Luckily for us, there is a way to get sulfur without going to the nether. So just to give a quick explanation, in normal Gregtech New Horizons progression, you go to the nether and then you find a sulfur vein, which allows you to make rubber. You combine raw rubber and vulcanize it with sulfur in a alloy smelter to make rubber bars. However, there is something that we can do to get past this nether quest that very few people know about. But if you look at the NEI uses of rubber bars and you go into the quest book page, there is this weird quest that you can't find called Trigger Nether Skip. If we get 2 stacks of rubber bars, we can go back and skip all of these quests and go right to this. So we are not going to the nether. We are going to instead make 128 rubber bars and get our way to LV. there is the question of how am I going to get sulfur without going to the nether? And the answer is really very simple. We are going to XP craft sulfur. So this is the process for XP crafting, just so I can get it in one big go to put in a video. We've got our concentrated essence berries, which we can crouch and right click to get a whole bunch of XP in one go. And then we use these XP drains from open blocks into seared tanks to drain our XP, pick it up with a bucket, and then craft it into whatever we need. And in this case, it's sulfur. So I'm gonna pin this recipe here. While we do this, I'm going to grab another part of this puzzle that we need to do, which is I need to extract sticky resin into raw rubber dust. This is the best recipe we have here. We do it in the extractor that we made yesterday. I already got started a little bit because it takes a very long time to do this. So we need 384, which is 6 stacks. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 stacks already, 4.5. I'm gonna let that extract and I'm gonna craft out all of our sulfur. So we're gonna be kind of grinding for the first bit to get 128 sulfur, but bear with me and we'll get through it. In order to save you from the crafting montage that is the end of Steam Age, I'm going to quickly describe to you the end of the Steam Age quest book. Most if not all of these quests lead directly into crafting your first electronic circuit. We of course craft our sulfur and raw rubber dust into 128 rubber bars, which will turn into rubber sheets to coat cables. Cables, wires, boards, resistors, and vacuum tubes all get crafted and combined to make our very first, very janky, low voltage circuit, which is needed to craft our first steam turbine. The process is slow, but the result is very satisfying. Finally, I craft red alloy wire into cable, and then 3 LV tier electronic circuits. Our first electronic circuit of the entire series. Now, I want to give you guys a quick rundown of how circuits work in Gregtech New Horizons. If this scares you, please don't be alarmed. It is a little bit scary. But there are tiers of circuits for every tier of the game and beyond. And there are multiple circuits per tier. So right here, this is the circuits that we can make in the Steam/the LV age, which are these vacuum tubes, ULV circuits, electronic circuits, which we just made, which is our first LV tier circuit. And then in order to move on to MV, we'll need to make good electronic circuits. As you go through the game, there are different circuit lines like the nano tier, the quantum, the crystals, the wetwares. Every tier we're gonna have to deal with a new circuit, and we're gonna get circuits that get us to the next tier. But we're there, we're one step in a very long chain, and we are almost done today. So we've got 3 more quests to do. We've got our basic LV motors, which will be our first components, and our LV machine casing. I want to do the machine casing first because I think we have everything for that already. There will be our first LV machine hull. I'll just leave it at that. The machine hull is another very important thing. It is used as the basis for all LV machines and blocks. So all these transformers, diodes for transforming electricity, but more importantly, all of the basic machines. So the basic rock breaker, basic gas turbine, everything starts with a machine hull and some components and circuits. 2 tin screws, and that is 2 tin rotors, which is scuffed as hell. 2 more electric motors and we're free. By free I mean jail, and by jail I mean editing jail. But that's for me, not for you. And finally, our first electric motors of the entire series. That is everything we need to make our first steam machine, the basic steam turbine. And from here, it is a simple craft into the low voltage era, chat. Let's go. We are finally here. After, how many hours has it been? 44 hours. We've got a lot ahead of us, chat. A lot ahead of us, and I'm very excited for it. Thank you for joining me again for Superflat GTNH Episode 2. I am sorry this took so long, but genuinely, between rock climbing, EMT stuff, traveling, marathon, and music, I have been enjoying life to the fullest. If you want more of this, remember that subscribing, liking, and most importantly, commenting lets me know that this means something to you. And make sure to follow me on Twitch, where I'll be streaming all of Low Voltage soon. My name is Nine, and I'd like to remind you to be kind to yourself and others and do the best that you can. Though it may sometimes hurt, failure always offers us another chance to succeed. Peace.